This is a real place. It really exists. This is where our story begins. Piquén, Argentina, a small resort town about 70 miles from Buenos Aires. In 1985, tragedy struck when a nearby dam broke, flooding the entire town. Villa was abandoned immediately, its residents fleeing for higher ground. For over 25 years, the town remained underwater. It's been called a ghost town, but it's actually a ghost underwater. And recently it's begun to re-emerge from its watery grave. Our story starts here, with a woman named Elena Morales. Elena is a 36-year-old photographer and journalist living in Buenos Aires. She travels to Villa to take photos of the ruined town for a magazine article. There's not much left to see. The few remaining buildings are dilapidated and crumbling. Weeds and vines grow through cracked concrete. Trees have taken root in streets and sidewalks. And everywhere there's water, stagnant pools of fresh water teeming with mosquitoes. But the locals tell a different story. They talk about shadows moving through the streets, a rocking chair on a porch that rocks by itself, and most chilling, the sound of a child whispering in the dead of night. Many who have visited the town claim to have heard the whispering boy, but nobody has ever seen him. Some say he warns travelers to stay away, others that he welcomes them to the town. But all agree he has one name, El Niño. And here's the thing. Before visiting, Elena didn't believe any of these stories, not the legends or the lore. It was all nonsense, she thought. Or if it wasn't, it was all explained by science. Then things started happening. It began subtly. Her camera would turn on by itself, taking photos without her knowledge. When she reviewed them later, the images were of nothing, just static and noise. But then she felt something brush against her leg, a small nudge. Turning around, she saw nothing. Later, when checking her gear, she found a child's shoe lying on the floor, a tiny leather sandal. She knew no children had been around. Her team had driven straight from Buenos Aires and only stopped for gas. Next, her camera malfunctioned again, taking a picture of nothing. When the image developed, it showed a dark shadow standing behind her. Elena couldn't explain it, neither could anyone else. Her editor back in Buenos Aires suggested leaving the town, calling the whole experience a silly publicity stunt. But Elena wanted answers. She wanted to know why she was being targeted, what she'd done to deserve this treatment. Every night she'd hear whispering in the darkness, sometimes her name. Other times she'd hear snippets of conversations, children playing, dogs barking, adults talking in hushed voices. But the voice she wanted to hear above all was the boy's. She hoped to catch him speaking, maybe even get him to reveal himself. Then one night she heard him. Elena was sitting alone in the hotel room reviewing her photos from that day, when suddenly she heard whispering right outside the window. Pulling back the curtain, she saw nothing but stagnant water. Still, she followed the sound, and what she saw sent chills down her spine. Standing in front of her was a young boy. He wore clothing typical of the 1980s, a windbreaker and baggy jeans. The boy pointed toward a spot in the water, then disappeared. Startled, Elena rushed to the spot. It was a small rise in the water, little more than a molehill. Stepping closer, she saw something. Half sticking out of the muddy water was a headstone. No writing covered the stone, no names or epitaph. It was smooth and featureless. As she stared at the grave, the boy reappeared. He stood close behind her, so close she could feel his breath on her neck. His eyes were sad and empty, his skin cold and clammy. Elena screamed, stumbling backward. The boy remained, his lips moving. At first she couldn't understand what he was saying. Then his voice reached her, raspy and weak. "You see me now," he whispered. Then he faded away, dissolving into the murky water. Elena didn't stick around to watch. She turned and fled, racing back to her room. She packed her things and drove away from the town, not stopping until she was many miles away. Back in Buenos Aires, safe in her own bed, Elena looked over her photos from that trip. None of the pictures showed the boy, nor did they show the grave, but one photo captured the shadow, the same shadow from the picture of her. This time it was clearer, more defined, a perfect imprint of a small child. Shaken, Elena decided to destroy the photos, burn them in her fireplace. But when she looked into the fire, she saw the shadow dancing inside the flames. It was everywhere. On the walls, across the ceiling, behind her bed. Then suddenly, it stepped out of the fire and stood on her mantelpiece. The shadow took shape and form, becoming the boy. His face was pale, his eyes hollow pits of darkness. He stared at her, his gaze boring into her soul. Then he spoke. His voice was the same as before, raspy and weak. "You see me now," he whispered. Then he faded away, disappearing into the fireplace. Elena screamed and ran from the house, staying away for days. Eventually, she returned, cleaned up her photos, and filed the story away, never publishing anything about her experience. And still, she kept some of the photos, hid them in the back of a drawer, locked away in a box. She never told anyone about them, not even her closest friends and family. Then one day, years later, she was sorting through old gear, looking for something when she stumbled upon the box. Curiosity got the better of her, and she opened the box. Inside were the photos from taking them out. She saw one she didn't recognize. Flipping it over, she saw the image. It was the same as the rest, except it wasn't. In this photo, there was the shadow, her shadow, standing next to her, but there was something else. Next to her shadow, reaching out and touching her arm, was the boy. His fingers were long and bony, his skin gray and stretched tight over his bones. His eyes stared directly at the camera lens, their sockets black and empty. Beside him was the grave, the unmarked grave. Though Elena hadn't taken this picture, she recognized the spot. It was the rise in the water, the one she'd seen in the photo. When she checked the date on the photo, she nearly fainted. It was the day she died. I think you know where this is going. Here's your call to action. If you want more terrifying true stories like this, subscribe to the channel. He's still watching.